You're right. So, Pleased to Mars. It's quite good. The setup to the story is that a shamed Mechanicus Archmage, Kotov, is gearing up to do an expedition to the Halo Scar, which is apparently the most treacherous passage of space there is, and he wants to go beyond it because no one else has ever been beyond it. And he wants to find Archmage Telok, who apparently has been missing for millions of years or thousands of years, and some kind of artifact called the Breath of the Gods. And anyway, he's setting himself up for this expedition of redemption, and he brings along with him like quite a huge entourage. So there's plenty of characters in this book. Who does he bring with him? He's got a huge Arc Mechanicus ship, which is told as being like, it's explained as being just a huge monster of a ship. He gets his blokes to kidnap a load of civilians, and he basically makes slaves out of them. They're the bondsmen. There's a Skaratri, I think that's how you pronounce it, regiment. A regiment of Imperial Guard, a rogue trader, a Titan Legion, and in case all that wasn't enough, they even bring along 6 Space Marines. Yeah, only 6. There's no need. There's no need for any more than 6 Space Marines. A Titan Legion, yeah, that's all fine, but any more than 6 Space Marines, and that would be overkill. Anyway, yeah, it's a bit mad, but he gets them all together and sets off on this expedition, but not everything goes according to plan. So, writing-wise, it's quite good overall. It does have a few odd places, but it ticks over at a nice pace. Gives plenty of depth to the Mechanicus, which is a subject Games Workshop doesn't really touch on that often, but some of the things I found odd were there's a lot of references to Old Earth, and I was kind of under the impression that no one knew anything about Old Earth in Warhammer 40,000. It was just they didn't know what happened before the Emperor. So that I thought was a bit odd, and there's another part where like an alien and some bloke are talking to each other, and neither of them really know what the other's saying. They're just babbling at each other, and it's just a little bit strange. But anyway, overall, the writing's good. There's always something going on, and it doesn't seem to... It has a good pace to it. Now, characters... You're not sure on characters in this book. And the most of them are quite interesting, quite layered. Granted, there's some of them that behave exactly as you'd predict. Not looking at anyone in particular, Space Marines. But because there are so many of them, it'll keep your interest piqued all throughout the book. Now, some of the characters I think you should look out for are, well, the Mechanicus and the Skaratri. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I hope I am. Because, well, Games Workshop, like I said, doesn't really touch on the Mechanicus that often, so it's quite interesting to see the insight. Another interesting character is a rogue trader. He's in there, and there's more to him than meets the eye. So there's plenty to be found out about him. The Bondsman. Now these were quite possibly the most relatable and most interesting characters in the book, because they're basically normal blokes who have been kidnapped into slavery, and I'm really engrossed in their story because they're being treated really badly, as you'd expect. So I kind of want them to come good in the end, and I really want to know what happens to them as the books go on. And I'm kind of relying on them to keep this story grounded. Because Warhammer has a tendency to go a bit crazy. So I'm half expecting them to go a bit crazy halfway through and start doing ridiculous things. But yeah, I want them to stay quite sympathetic. The last character that really is worth looking at, potential spoiler warning, so I'll try and keep it vague, but, you know, close your ears for a couple of minutes, if not a couple of seconds. But in Act 3, another character is introduced, and it's an important character. And basically what they do with this character is they set up a sort of deal with the devil situation between this character and the Mechanicus. And that's good. That's good to read through. It's like, wow, this really raised the stakes. And it adds just another layer of intrigue, so definitely look out for that one. Now, the action in this book is pretty typical of any 40k book there is out there. The action doesn't really serve much purpose, it's just there to sort of get the plot going along and make the characters look cool. Although, having said that, this book doesn't have an awful lot of it. Mainly, it's just the characters and telling their stories, and to be quite honest, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think, because in some books, like the lack of action, the book might suffer from it, but not this one. No, so if you're gonna get this, the action isn't going to be the best part about it. Now, a word on the ending. I won't give away any spoilers, but as you'd expect to the start of the trilogy, there's no huge payoff, but it does serve quite a good job of setting up the next two books. You know, you're left wondering, well, you're left with questions. And personally, I couldn't wait to get started on the second book after the end, so I don't think you'll be too disappointed at all about that. Overall, it's a good book, and definitely one of the best 40k novels I've ever read. I wouldn't advise going for the hardback version, because, well, that's just me personally, you know, I'd prefer to go for the cheaper paperback, but you certainly could do a lot worse. Happy reading.